My name is Jack Turner, and I've learned something over the years. Some people don't understand boundaries until something bigger than them forces them to stop. Karen Whitfield was one of those people. Silver Creek Estates had a lot of rules. Some made sense, some didn't. But Karen treated all of them the same, like law. And the biggest problem with people like that is they forget where their authority ends. My ranch sat right next to their neighborhood, separated by a long stretch of gravel road that technically belonged to me. But over time, residents used it for access, deliveries, visitors, shortcuts. I tolerated it because it didn't interfere with my life until Karen decided it did. It started with a letter. Unauthorized vehicle parking HOA violation. I remember reading it twice just to make sure I wasn't missing something. They were talking about my truck, parked on my land near my gate. I didn't respond, because there was nothing to respond to. A few days later, another notice came, more aggressive, threatening towing if the violation wasn't corrected. I still ignored it because again, it wasn't their authority. But Karen wasn't bluffing. One morning I walked out toward the road and stopped dead in my tracks. My truck was gone. For a second I thought maybe I had moved it the night before and forgotten, but I hadn't. The ground told the story. Tire marks, tow tracks, they had taken it from my land. That was the moment everything changed. I didn't get angry, I got focused, because Karen hadn't just crossed a line, she had stepped way past it. I made one call to confirm what I already suspected. The towing company admitted they were hired by the HOA, said they were told the vehicle was in violation. I asked them one question. Did you verify property ownership? Silence. That told me everything I needed to know. I hung up and then I started planning, because if Karen wanted to make a statement, I was going to make one she couldn't ignore. Now most people would go straight to legal action. And I did start that process. Filed the report, contacted the county, everything by the book. But I also knew something else. Karen didn't learn from paperwork. She learned from impact. And I had something that could make an impact. Years ago, before I settled here, I worked contracts that involved heavy equipment, transport. Through that, I still had connections. One of those connections owed me a favor, a big one, so I made the call. I didn't explain everything, just told him I needed something delivered. Temporary, legal, but very noticeable. 2 days later it arrived, a 30-ton decommissioned military tank. Not operational, but intact, massive, and impossible to ignore. It was transported legally with all permits in place and unloaded right at the edge of my property, facing the entrance road that led directly into Silver Creek Estates, right where their main traffic flowed. I made sure of one thing. It was parked completely on my land, but positioned in a way that narrowed the usable road significantly. Still legal, still within my boundary, but very inconvenient. By the time residents started their morning routines, confusion spread fast, cars slowing down, trying to figure out what they were looking at, because no one expects to see a tank sitting next to their neighborhood entrance. Within an hour, traffic started backing up because that road, the one they relied on for overflow access, was now restricted. Not blocked, but restricted enough to cause problems. And then Karen showed up. She looked at the tank, then at me, and for once, she didn't have an immediate argument ready. "What is this?" she asked. I kept my voice calm. "My property, you're obstructing access." I shook my head. "No, I'm using my land." She pointed toward the road. "This is affecting our community." I nodded slightly. "Funny how that works." Her expression tightened. "You need to remove this immediately." I looked at her. "You had my vehicle towed. That was a violation." "No," I said. "That was theft." She didn't respond because she couldn't justify it anymore. Not now. Not with the county already involved. By midday, the situation escalated. Traffic complaints. Delivery delays. Residents frustrated because Karen had created a system that depended on something she didn't control. And now she was feeling exactly what that meant. The county arrived again. This time they reviewed everything carefully. The tank, its placement, the property lines. And after going through all the details, they confirmed it. It was legal. Annoying, yes. Inconvenient, definitely. But legal. And that was all that mattered. Then they turned their attention to Karen and the towing incident. Because now, that was the bigger issue. Removing a vehicle from private property without proper authority, that's not an HOA violation, that's a legal problem. The towing company was questioned, records were reviewed, and it became very clear the HOA had overstepped. Again, the order came quickly. My truck was returned at their expense. And not just that, the HOA faced penalties, warnings, and legal consequences that went far beyond a simple mistake. Within days, everything shifted. The tank stayed for a while, long enough to make sure the message was clear. Then I had it removed quietly. No announcement, no confrontation. Just gone, but the impact stayed. Karen stepped down within a month. No one said it officially, but everyone knew why, because this time she didn't just push a rule. She tried to take something that wasn't hers. And that's a line you don't come back from. Now, things are quieter. The road is just a road again. My truck sits where I park it. And no one questions it. Because sometimes, it takes something big. Something impossible to ignore. To remind people of a very simple truth: if it's not your property, you don't control it. And the moment you act like you do, you might just run into something that stops you completely.